If that doesn't just accurately sum up my life, I don't know what does. I feel like a magpie. I'll cry, I swear to God. So I just suffer. I'm gonna go before I embarrass myself anymore. I am so worn out. Do you know how Thumbelina ends? The original book, not the film. When it comes to old fairy tales, you expect a certain level of horror. I had a quick flick through the actual original Thumbelina. I was very surprised by the end of it, not because it's horrific, but because it just feels so unnecessarily and unexpectedly savage. Now I'm paraphrasing here, but the book roughly ends by saying, "Hey Thumbelina, you're really pretty, but your name is ugly as hell, so we're gonna call you Maya now." What the hell was that? I personally thought Thumbelina was a nice name. This whole project came about because somebody used the Thumbelina theme song as a sound in their Instagram story. Let me lift you high above. And when I heard it, it made me get so emotional I actually teared up because it's been years since I've heard it. This led to a conversation with my friend Annie of Lady Anniebelle, and she told me that 2 of Thumbelina's outfits are actually on her cosplay list, and they're also on mine as well. And so we decided to both go in on it together and make Thumbelina outfits. I originally planned to do a outfit that was true to the original animation design, and I bought a fabric for it. When it came, it was not as nice as it looked when it was online. It was very, very shiny, and the drape on it isn't that nice to use for a skirt. Hopefully it'll have another use one day, but I don't want to use it for this. Basically meant I had to go fabric shopping again. From that point, I ended up on the Thumbelina Renaissance train. I don't remember how I got there. I just know that's where I've ended up. This is the design that I drew. This isn't technically what I'm making anymore. I'm gonna go with the more traditional square neckline instead. I just couldn't be bothered to redraw what I drew. I'm also putting a split down the skirt as well. Also not drawn there. Just imagine it. Our main fabric is this absolutely divine blue velvet. It is so soft. It is the perfect blue, and this is actually the lightest weight velvet I've ever worked with. So I've worked with lots of velvet. I think I've used it twice. Then that is going to be complemented by this crushed silver velvet. I'm going to be using this on the sleeve pieces. This wasn't actually in my plan because I was going to stick to just the blue kind of Thumbelina colors. Something about the design color balance really wasn't sitting right with me. So I went through all the fabrics I had and all the fabrics we had in the stash to come up with a new combination of stuff. So this is actually one we've pulled from the stash, and I think it's going to work really, really well for the sleeves. Another one pulled from the stash this morning, used on the inside center panel for the skirt. We originally bought this one for a Benedict Bridgerton cosplay for Dan next year, and we're still going to do that cosplay. Take just a little piece of this fabric to do a central panel down the front of the bodice. In my head, this one fills the role of Thumbelina's, she's got like that corset belt style thing that's in a darker color. That's what this fabric does. Ye old plain linen for the chemise to go underneath. As always, I don't have any patterns, but I have done some rough research. I've got some approximate measurements as a starting point, and most importantly, I have one hell of a can-do attitude. So without further ado, let's start the chemise. The classic Renaissance chemise that I wish to make is just 4 rectangles, 4 triangles, and if I'm feeling particularly fancy, a couple of cuffs. And that's literally all. I even drew a little handy dandy diagram. Not this side is the dress. Over here is just the basic plan for the chemise along with some measurements. It's really dark. So that's a rough idea of what I'll be doing for this, and there's not really much else to say about it, so let's cut out some rectangles. About here is when I started to doubt the sleeve measurements. I did decide to add a few extra inches on, which I'm glad I did because it meant the final look had some great poofs to it. I didn't have enough room to lay these pieces out fully, but this gives you a rough idea of how they come together. You'll note I have developed some dragon-like talons. After cutting out the chemise fabric, but before actually assembling it, I shot the results for Wicked, and those nails very quickly became my new personality, however brief it may have been. I joined the pieces together in the layout that I showed you earlier, and then essentially folded that over to join the sleeves and the sides of the dress together. I hand gathered in the neckline and shoulders, not an easy job with the talons by the way. Thought I was being really smart doing this in sections and checking the measurements as I went so it would fit perfectly. I was not, it was way off. I redid it 4 times. And good morning. I had to get rid of my talons because they were slowing me down so much when I was trying to sew yesterday. The worst was that I couldn't pick up any of the pins I was trying to use, which is why they're all over the floor right now because I kept dropping them and just knocking them everywhere. Talons are gone and I should be able to sew a lot faster today. I have a approximate chemise in place and that's about as far as I've got, which is really not good because I need to make some serious progress today. To start the day off, we're going to be cutting out the main big pieces of fabric for the top dress, which is the light blue velvet and then that scrap piece that I was using to make the underskirt with. For the underskirt, something occurred to me yesterday that I am very glad occurred to me before I started making it. My plan was to make a regular rectangle skirt with a waistband, only at no point through my weeks of thinking in my head that's what I was going to do did it occur to me that if I did that, the waistband for the skirt would sit like there, and then the dress would open from like here, meaning you're gonna just see the waistband and then part of the chemise underneath, and that would look terrible. I can't believe I only thought of that yesterday. Luckily I hadn't started the actual underskirt yet. New plan that I've come up with, I'm gonna attach the underskirt to the actual skirt part of the top dress and essentially treat it like it's a lining of the dress, and hopefully that should work. Or at least it does in my head. We will see what actually happens with it. So we're going to sort that stuff out today. As soon as the skirt panels are all cut out, and I'm going to get straight into sorting out the pattern for the bodice and for the sleeves so I can get all of my fabric cut out this morning. And then we're going to go as quickly as possible to try and assemble everything that I cut out. And part of the reason why I am so like, I want to make some serious progress is I'm jumping on a call with Annie this afternoon. So I've got until 4 o'clock to make proper big girl progress for that call with Annie, mainly because she's basically finished hers and I have part of a chemise. If that doesn't just accurately sum up my life, I don't know what does. Let's crack on. For the skirt, I cut out 4 rectangle panels using the wick for the fabric. I decided to add a modest train so the 2 back panels were a touch longer. Next I cut the fabric for the underskirt, which as I was working with some scrap material was actually just neatening off the edge so I could salvage as much of it as possible. As it wouldn't be visible, I used some spare taffeta as the back of the underskirt. I only had to cut the length of this as the width would be gathered in anyway. I then pinned the panels together, ready to sew back in the studio. Back onto the velvet, I laid out the back panels to cut a curve in for the train before joining them all together. Why shuffle over slightly when you can stretch so far it hurts? My brain gets stubborn about the stupidest things sometimes. I know I said that I was going to cut out all the fabric first, but I'm actually not. I'm going to quickly assemble all of these skirt panels that I've just made because I'm kind of in the groove of making the skirt. And then once all those are together, I'm then going to jump on sorting out the patterns for the bodice and the sleeves. Skirt panels are now together. For the bodice, frankly very similar to a lot of other things that I've made, so I definitely have standard patterns for that. Oh, yes! I just remembered that when I made my wedding dress, I finally redid that classic bodice pattern to actually fit me. So for the first time, I get to make a project without having to do ridiculous amounts of adjustments because I'm using a pattern that's 2 sizes bigger than I am. It's just a basic sleeve, so that should be good to use as a template for figuring out my sleeve pieces. Ow! Putting all my patterns in that folder was probably the best gift I ever gave myself. I am just obsessively making sure I get the velvet pile the right way around on all of the pieces because it will drive me insane if I get it wrong. After cutting out the base shapes, I went back and shortened all of the pieces. When I need to custom shape something, I find it much easier to start with the full block version and then cut into it from there, even if it is a touch wasteful on the fabric. I also cut out the centre panel in the darker fabric along with some canvas to reinforce it. I actually cut out all of the bodice pieces in this canvas to make it more rigid, but we don't need to see that, so let us venture forth onto the sleeves. I was super technical with the sleeves. You're about to witness my ingenuity as I solve how to make Renaissance sleeves by cutting this in half. To be fair, I also tweaked the height and the shape a little. I thought it went really well. Of course, if you pay attention, which apparently I did not, you'll notice that I'm testing these over a cardigan, which means I made them to fit my arms, provided my arms are covered in chunky knitwear. They came out a little big. Bless her cotton socks, she thinks she's nailed it. I am so worn out. Just got back from town. I had to pop down to the fabric store to buy some bias tape. Oh, no. I've got glue to go around all of the main bits of the dress because I'm basically going to save myself some time making a lining. Granted, in the time it took me to go out and buy bias tape, I could have made a lining, but for some reason this seemed logical. Got grey to go around the arm pieces for the same reason. And then I've got white for the neckline on the chemise, which I did need to get anyway, so either way I was gonna have to go and buy this, so I might as well have got these two. And then I've got some embroidery thread to make the eyelets later on. I'm gonna sit and get the grey bias tape onto the velvet sleeves first, primarily because I've got about an hour until I'm jumping on that call with Annie, and I figure I need a task to do that won't require the sewing machine because that's gonna be really noisy. So if I get the bias tape on these, then I can sit and hand stitch the trim on these while I'm on that call. Oh my god, I'm so worn out. I actually did lose quite a bit of time going out to the shop. I probably shouldn't have gone to the antique shop as well, but I mean, that place just beckons me and I couldn't help it. I also saw this really weird brooch while I was in there. I can't actually remember if it was a brooch or a pendant. It was something little and weird. It was either an ostrich or a flamingo or an ugly duckling. I have no idea. I mean, take a look. What do you think this thing is? Anyway, should probably get to work. Does anyone else find bias tape to be the most satisfying job you can do? It's just so relaxing and you don't have to use your brain to solve anything. You just get to check out for a while and sew on some bias tape. We are about to hop on the call with Annie, which I am already late for because I spent 5 minutes faffing with the camera. Making sure my mic's actually turned on. Hello!
Hi.
Are you just finished by now, or have you actually got any work left to do on yours?
I do actually. The wings took me a lot longer than I thought they would, so I'm currently working on them.
Oh my god, they look so cool. What are they made out of?
Some armature wire and a couple of layers of fabric. There's like organza and then this like shimmery net stuff on top of it.
I don't know why, I just assumed you were gonna do, you know, people make them with that plasticky stuff.
Yeah, like the cellophane.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna do that.
That would have been a lot easier. Yeah. How is yours going? Because I haven't seen anything from yours.
It's because there's nothing to show yet. I've got pieces everywhere. Just about constructed all of the sleeve pieces. My bodice is here in loads of little pieces. And my skirt is on a pile on the floor over there. It's at that stage where it will come together relatively quickly, but right now I've got nothing to really show for it other than the chemise behind me.
The chemise looks great.
Thank you. Yeah, everything's been very last minute for me today.
We both decided to do some really big projects before we started this one. I did the little Swiss belts from some leftover silk that I had from my corset a couple of videos ago.
Oh yeah, it is the same green.
And then I used that to also make the headband and the shoes.
Oh my god, you made shoes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I covered shoes.
You've really gone all out for this.
And the top is so cute.
Oh, I love that. I'd wear that every day if I was you.
Right? I'm excited about it.
I really hate making the very small, consequenceless decisions because they always seem like the hardest ones to make.
Ooh, like what?
Like, which way round do I sew this trim on?
Let me see.
It's not technically symmetrical because the pearls kind of fall more to one side than the other. So I can either have the pearls sitting more at the bottom or more at the top.
Bottom.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I would have spent like 20 minutes thinking about that.
The design that you're going with, it makes me think of Ever After.
Yeah, those are a lot of my reference pictures.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm bleeding. It's fine. I've already got this in a knot.
Hand sewing drives me crazy because I always start with a really long thread because I don't want to change my thread, and then like 2 stitches in I'm like, I can't deal with this thread, it's too long, and it keeps getting caught and it drives me crazy, so then I end up cutting it shorter. And
see,
like,
that's exactly
time.
what I do, minus the cutting it shorter. I just suffer. Why do I keep bleeding this much? I'm gonna have to go get a plaster. I don't even know where this is coming from. I'll be back in a sec. Okay. I'm gonna tape it so it stays on. How did I even stab this one? It's the one I'm sewing with. The other hand makes sense, but how did I do it to this one?
So do you know what you're working on after this?
Ooh, I'm doing a Katie Keene Valentine's look. I put a poll up for my subscribers so that they could choose the Katie Keene look they wanted me to do. I chose a very like classic, very pretty design. Somebody commented on the photo because she's holding an umbrella, and somebody said it looked like a sword. I was like, well, it's a sword now. So I got all this stuff to make like a prop sword, which I'm freaking stoked about.
You know, I took off those fake nails from Wicked this morning so I could actually work faster today.
How's that going?
This thing on my phone, I'm back to not being able to pick things up.
Oh, we got distracted. What are you doing? Are you doing something for Valentine's?
Codenamed Bloody Valentine Project.
Oh.
I essentially, you know, you see those pictures on Pinterest, couture gowns that have like the blood splatter kind of style.
Oh, yeah, I love those.
Always wanted to use that technique on literally anything that I can because it looks really cool and I want to give it a go. 50s housewife turned murderer kind of look.
Okay.
The only thing I was kind of not sure if I can do or not, kind of wanted to just make a bejeweled art that I could just hold.
Okay.
I don't know if I can actually make that or not. And I thought an alternative is I could just do a bit of like like an axe or a knife prop or something. But that is the rough concept, is that very put together housewife went on a sparkly murder.
I love that. I can't wait to see that. I like the idea of an axe.
Yeah, me too, but I that's one of those, I don't feel like I should go buy an axe.
Oh, you could do some fun green screen stuff with Dan and like do a couple different shots with him. Like first cover his body with a green screen and then cover his head, and then you can have them like separated.
I beheaded my husband.
Yeah.
I like him.
I finally got onto assembling my bodice. I decided to have 2 lace-up fastenings at either side of the dress, so instead of assembling one bodice, I more assembled a front and back. It was a little like those football bibs they make you wear in primary school. I did a little more shaping on the mannequin to get it closer to the Renaissance style. After playing with the trim, I started to realise I preferred the back of a triangle drop instead of a square one. Before committing to cutting it, I pinned the trim in place and tested it with a sleeve piece to see how it looked together, and I was happy with it. Now tell me bias tape doesn't just make everything better. I spent a very long while on the floor pleating this stupidly big skirt I made to fit the bodice. I was actually using 2 bookmarks to shape this. It's called using the tools of the trade. The tools of the trade being whatever is within arm's reach and will do. Full disclosure, this has been edited to seem far more smooth than it actually was. I redid them so many times and the right side does still not match the left side, and it also didn't fit the bodice properly either. This is one of those situations where I'm forever grateful that the ADHD impatience cancels out the autistic perfectionism, because I really wanted to just move on. Now's the fun part where we join the layers. Did I say fun? I meant stressful. Gathered taffeta is not an easy thing to get under the machine, especially when you're attaching it to tightly pleated velvet. But that was nothing compared to adding the bodice layer. Just wait for it. And the machine needle broke. But I persevere, replace the needle and march on. Just wait for it. You guessed it. The machine needles broke. That's machine needles nil, unruly massive velvet taffeta and canvas too. The 3rd needle survived, but I took it very cautiously. And we have a whole dress. I got so much TV under my belt sewing on all of this trim. The downside is my fingers still hurt from handling that needle so much. I was so excited to add the daisy appliques on. Renaissance dresses can be so ornate, and I knew I wanted to use that to incorporate Thumbelina's daisies in some way. Now, for some reason, I have deluded myself into believing that I'm going to be able to style a wig. My goal is to go for something along these kind of vibes. Bits and pieces on the table that I can use to try and make something look good. I'm not really having a solid direction with this because I think I'm just going to keep trying stuff until something looks okay, because I have no faith in my ability to actually do this. We'll give it a go. I started by securing the wig to the mannequin, followed by securing my hair to my own head because it was already getting on my nerves. You know when you're trying to grow it out, but you're in that middle stage where you already think about cutting it off again, but you know you'll regret it? Yeah, that. This is actually very therapeutic. Okay, I can do this. With the wig detangled, I started separating out the sections to plait the top. I decided I wanted to plait some ribbon into this, which was far easier said than done. It kept sliding out. Even sped up, I'm taking forever to do this, so let's ramp this up even further. I've gotten as far as adding in a very bad headband braid, and it has taken me about 40 minutes. I genuinely don't know how people do this stuff every day. Start adding in some of the volume kind of stuff on the top of the head to get that same kind of shape that Thumbelina has. I put the top section to the side to create the little bun later on and started working on the bottom braids. I put a thicker ribbon in these, which worked far better. I also filmed a really cool close-up on the second one, but it turns out I didn't so much film it as much as I just pointed the camera at it very cinematically and forgot to hit record. So enjoy this wide shot, it's all you're getting. I used scrunchies to get the volume for the bun part because I do not own any of those donut things you're supposed to use. To finish off, I wrapped the bottom braids up and around the bun, securing them with grips. And voila! We have a dress and we have a wig that I thoroughly do not believe I can get off this mannequin head and onto my actual head without it coming apart. So we'll see what happens there. We're ready to shoot it. Oh my. I love this a little bit too much. I never want to take it off. I'm gonna be honest, this turned out far better than I thought it was going to. I am so glad that very last minute I decided to use some fabrics from my stash to go with it because it elevated the entire thing so much. Didn't actually shoot outside because it was really cold and frosty this morning, and now I'm in this, it's actually surprisingly warm, so I think maybe it is more of a cooler weather kind of outfit than a summer one like I assumed it would be. Renaissance Thumbelina. I love her. Annie's video came out last week, so if you haven't watched that already, go head over there now. Well, in a minute. I'm not done with you yet. This dress is definitely going to be a high contender for when I attend the Renaissance Fair this year. I actually had a lot of fun doing a collaborative video with someone. I really enjoyed being able to just check in with each other and sit and have the little sewing session together. If you guys like the collaborative style videos, then please let me know because I'd love to do them more often if you're into it. My next video, as briefly mentioned earlier, is going to be a Bloody Valentine kind of video. It's essentially going to be like Abaddon core. I'm actually really looking forward to starting that one. After I do that Valentine's video, I am going to be doing my first ever Q&A video, which I'm actually a little bit nervous about, partially because they can get quite personal, mainly because it's something that I have been told that I should do for a long time, but equally I've had fear of doing it because I feel like no one's gonna ask me anything. So this is me being vulnerable and putting myself out there. I'm going to be making a Q&A video, and I will be putting a post in my community tab to, you know, as somewhere where you guys can drop questions all together. If you have any, you might not. That's fine too. I'm going to go before I embarrass myself anymore. Thank you so much for watching. Your support and love is always appreciated. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop me a comment down below. And I will see you all in my next video for Gruesome Mayhem. This morning by... Over here, me. Focus on me. I completely missed the fabric and put that straight to my finger. Why? Too tired to be doing this. La, 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 la. I don't know why. I was gonna say things, don't know what they were. I don't care how superficial this is. Every time I just catch a glance of what I look like in the camera, I just love it more and more.